Okay, we're here in Michigan Stadium. Chaz.
Hey, go Wolverines, go blue, go blue. It's cold.
It's cold. It was 14 degrees when we got here this morning doing the tailgate. It's actually warmed up. It's supposed to be 32 at kickoff. So we're excited. We're here in Michigan Stadium watching Ohio State take on the Wolverines of Michigan, and hopefully it'll be a great game.
Welcome back to the XL Sports Network College Drive at 5. We're here today live in the David Venable Studios in downtown Hawkinsville, and we're brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. If you guys didn't get down there on Thanksgiving Day, don't worry. Every Sunday is Thanksgiving at the Steakhouse. Every other day of the week, amazing buffet, great steaks, great food. Make your way down there to the Steakhouse. Let them know that you heard about this on the College Football Drive at 5, brought to you by the XL Sports Network. I'm joined in the studio by Will Nobles, my buddy. And on the boards, we got Ken on the boards. We did not have the show last week because of Thanksgiving. So we're going to try to do probably talk a little bit about the last 2 weeks and also talk about this past week. Will, man, it was exciting. I tell you guys who were out there listening, I'm just going to throw this out there. You're probably going to see this on the YouTube channel. And speaking of, you can watch us the XL Sports Network on YouTube, and hit the like, hit the subscribe, leave us a comment. You can also listen to us on the XLSportsNetwork.net and listen live there. My son Chaz and I, who's also on the show, normally he's in Tallahassee. He's working, so he can't be on the radio with us today, but we went to Michigan, Ann Arbor, Michigan this week, and watched the great Michigan-Ohio State game with 110,615 of our friends, and it was absolutely incredible. So you'll probably be seeing some videos of that. I think Ken's going to try to upload some of that. So we'll talk a little bit about that, talk a little bit about this past week, a little bit about the previous week, but more importantly going forward, we're going to talk about Championship Saturday, which is just 2 days away, Will. Man, where do we start? Will?
I know you want to start with that exciting Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving. No,
Man, let's start with the Egg Bowl.
That game was boring.
I will tell you, if you ever get a chance, guys, to go to Start Vegas and watch a game, take earplugs with you because they have cowbells. Incredible cowbell. It's so loud over there that you can't even hear yourself think. But go ahead and talk about that.
I was joking. I don't want to talk about that game. That was one of the
was
one of the most boring games of the weekend, and that I think that 13-10 win by Iowa was more exciting than that Ole Miss game.
Well, let's talk about that. We got a lot to talk about with Iowa.
So we can talk about that one if you want to. It's just two Big Ten defenses playing well. I think it's really surprising that Iowa's done this well. They're 10-2, and they cannot score a single point. And they asked their OC not to come back.
Yeah.
And they're 10-2.
And still calling plays.
They're playing for a conference championship in 2 days.
They absolutely are.
They are just an interesting situation.
Ranked number 16 in the nation.
Yep.
And it's just, you're right. It's incredible.
Let's just, I've kind of talked about this with you. Let's just talk about certain teams and kind of how they've done the past couple weeks. Start with Georgia, the number one team in the country. Best believe it, on question.
Absolutely.
Last two games, we haven't got to talk about Tennessee and Georgia Tech. That Tennessee game, that went exactly how I thought it would. It was vindication for me saying all year long that Tennessee is not a good football team, and they're not, and they didn't play like it, and Georgia did. And then that Georgia Tech game, I'm not worried one single bit because I believe there was two parts to that game. One, that was hey, let's get through this game and go play Alabama.
First of all, they entered the game with 4 starters on offense that were not there. So, when you have 4 starters that were not, when you have 4 starters that were not playing on offense, I'm sorry, but it was get through it, win, move on, get out of there without any injuries, and I think they did that.
And then they had a couple of turnovers too, that's how you beat Georgia.
Yeah,
I've said it all year. I don't know that I've said it on the show, but people are like, "Oh, what's the formula to beat Georgia?" It's really simple. You turn them over and hit them with big plays.
You can't beat Georgia. You have to allow them to beat themselves.
Well, but they're not going to do that.
And
they just don't do that. So that's the formula. Anybody out there, Alabama, whoever's going to play them in the playoff when they inevitably beat Alabama, you want to beat Georgia, turn them over and hit big plays.
Right.
But
Explosive
people
plays.
have been able to do one or the other. Like
Right,
Auburn and Tech turned them over, and Mizzou was hitting some big plays, but nobody's been able to do both, and that's why they haven't lost.
Right. And I'll expect them to going forward.
Yeah, and like you said, when you rest Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, and you're starting what is Tate Ratledge, the
Tate Ratledge,
guard.
yep.
When you bench all four of those guys and Ra Thomas, you're not going to be super explosive, but they still put up 31
Right.
points. So
yeah, those four on offense didn't include Rob Thomas, who's very important to that team.
Yeah. Getting to Michigan, one of the games you saw in person, which is that is an awesome experience. I'm glad y'all got to do that.
Cool. Just get in there.
Yeah, me too. Next time. So they played that game against Maryland, which was, I think, sort of a trap game, sort of a look-ahead game. I think you were predicting that it would be a really close game, and it ended up being a close one, 31-24.
Yeah.
They just had a lot of external stuff going on, but they got the win. And again, conference road games are always can present some challenges. And then the game, that's all you need to say. That was a heck of a game to watch.
Well, Harbaugh is 6-0 this year, coaching from a hotel room. Yeah, it was a great game. And, and we talked about Sequel and Drive over here. Marvin Harrison, watching those guys play, I knew that Marvin had, two big catches. One was like a 24-yard or something like that, and the other one was like 44 yards, I think, in the second half. I knew he had those two big catches, but I didn't realize until after the game that he had 118 yards receiving. And it just didn't feel like he was that dominant in that game. It didn't feel like he was that much of a part of the game other than those two catches. The one in the first half, I think, was a big third down play, and they moved the chains with him on that one.
Yeah, he was 5 for 118 and a touchdown.
Yeah, and I think the touchdown was I don't think that was a long pass. I want to say it was
14 yards from Common Cord.
So, but you go back and he just didn't seem like he was that much of a factor in the game. Travion Henderson, he had 60 yards rushing, but he carried the ball a lot. He just didn't, I just didn't think they looked that great. They didn't look that crisp on offense. They didn't. And Common Cord was, man, there was sometimes he threw the ball like the pass to Marvin Harrison in the first half, that 24 yards. Man, he put that thing on the back shoulder. I mean, he zipped it out there, and I told Chaz, I was like, wow, that was great. But then he comes back and he throws a stinking interception that, on a pass he shouldn't have thrown. He was a little bit rushed on that pass. And, and then the second half, in the end of the game, he threw that interception at the end of the game. He was getting a little pressure on that. But I just really wasn't that impressed with Ohio State. I'll be honest. It was a great atmosphere, great game. I thought that Michigan played really, really good on both sides of the football. J.J. McCarthy was 16 for 20, 148 yards and a touchdown. I thought he played game manager.
And that's what he is, and
right.
He does it well.
I thought he was a good game manager. Blake Corum, he had some good plays. He had 80 yards rushing. Donovan Edwards had some really key pickups on third down. Blake Corum had that. I think he jumped over. I don't know how in the world he did it. The guy's not that big. Jumped over the pile for a touchdown there, and
that was a great play right there.
It was a good play. But man, what a great atmosphere, a great venue. 110,000 plus people there. There was probably 300,000 or 400,000 outside the stadium tailgating. And I'm gonna tell you guys something. Down here, we're passionate about football, and at the end of the game, we'll go and hug our opponents and pat them on the back, whatever. They don't do that there. they don't. They just don't do that there. Anybody wearing red, you might have been. You could have gotten hurt. That's why I didn't wear my Georgia stuff. I did when I came in town, Will. I wore my Georgia stuff in town, and everybody was looking at me like I was crazy. I was like, I'm Georgia. Like, oh, okay. And then there, and then the fact that we went to the what's called the M Den or the Michigan Den and bought some shirts or whatever before the game, and the guys like behind the counters like, oh, you're Georgia fans. Yeah, he goes, man, I can't wait to play you guys again this year. I'm really excited that we can play you guys this year. And I said, okay. He goes, well, really, I'm not. I really hope we don't have to play you guys this year. But, yeah, man, it was a great game. I tell you, I could sit here and talk about it for the whole show, but we got other things we got to talk about. Great win for Michigan going forward. Punched your ticket to the championship game to play Iowa, and we'll get into our picks later on.
Yep. Two quick questions sort of on this thread of Michigan, Ohio State. One, I'm interested because they reviewed that play for probably 30 minutes. It wasn't that long, but that pass from J.J. McCarthy to Roman Wilson, that was disputable as an interception. What was the vibe?
The one that crossed into the end zone?
Do what?
The one that went into the end zone?
Yes. Kind of got wrestled away at the end there. Thoughts on that? What was the vibe in the stadium?
You know, I think some of the guys around me, because Chaz and I are talking, heard some of the conversations Chaz and I are having about breaking down stuff, and so they were kind of like all looking at me going, "What do you think? What do you think about that?" And I said, "Well, he had possession of the football before we got to the goal line. He crossed the goal line, and it looked to me like he had firm possession of the football crossing the goal line. It was right there in front of us, actually, right there. And but I mean, we saw it on the big screen too, And I just think once that ball crosses the goal line, and once the ball crosses the goal line, the play's over. What happens after that doesn't matter. So I didn't really think in the stadium there's much worry at all in the stadium. We all kind of like, yeah, that's a touchdown. What are they even looking at? So I don't know what was like on TV. Was it
that was the same thought I had, but it was Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt on the call. I think Joel Klatt was really, really curious if that was a catch. The only thing that I think may have even been in dispute was sort of that same train of thought and logic is, did the catch survive the ground? Which I don't like that because, again, like you said, I agree. You establish possession, cross the goal line, plays dead, plays over, touchdown.
That rule about the catch surviving the goal line, I don't think is legitimate when you catch the ball and you take 2 or 3 steps.
Oh no, I know. I'm saying it's the same.
Cross into the goal line. If you got like the one at Georgia with Dylan Bell, the great catch he had, which I still think was a catch. I don't think he was bobbling the ball, but there was still a question whether or not he was bobbling the ball. He held on to the ball and you hit the ground and still held on to the football, but it wasn't like that. This was a catch, and the guy made 2 or 3 strides, and the defender was right there, and as they crossed the goal line, he just kind of pulled it out of his hand. So I know where you're getting with that. I can understand what Joe Klatt may have been talking about, but I just don't think that's the same thing in this case. But no, I don't think anybody in the stadium really thought much more about that. So.
I agree with you. I think it was a catch. I think the only people who don't think that it was were Buckeye fans. Yeah. Second question I had for you in the thread of Michigan, Ohio State. Is Ryan Day on the hot seat?
I will tell you, hey, listen, he has lost in his career. He's lost 6 games.
Well, hang on. I know, but they don't even refer to Michigan as Michigan. They're the team up north. Oh, nothing else matters.
But that hasn't changed since. I mean, that was even before.
Oh, I know.
Before he got there,
nothing else matters.
No.
But if you go 1-11 and that win is against Michigan, that's a good year.
Yeah, exactly right.
He can't beat Michigan these past 3 years.
So. The guy's lost 6 games his whole career.
He has.
3 to Michigan, 1 to Georgia, 1 to Oregon, and 1 to Clemson. All in championship environments. To be honest, the Michigan losses are all, to be honest, be for the Big Ten championship for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Is he in a hot seat? On a hot seat? He should not be, but yes, he is. I think, and we got to take a break here in about 10 seconds. I think that he's feeling the pressure from the alumni, from the boosters, and I think right now he's going to jump as soon as he can. He's going to jump to the NFL. I think that's that's going to be his out, I believe.
I think the pressure exists solely because of where he's coaching. That's it.
Yeah,
like you said, he's only got 6 losses in what's it been, 5, 6, some odd years, 7 years, something like that. But
crazy.
Because it's Ohio State and because it's the team up north.
I'm not a big fan of Crying Ryan anyway. But with that, we'll take a break. You listen to the XL Sports Network College Drive at 5, brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. We'll be back in 2 minutes, and you guys join us. We'll come back and talk about some more football.
Stay tuned.
All right, welcome back to the XL Sports Network College Football Drive at 5, brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. And we are coming to you live from the David Venables Studios in downtown Hawkinsville. We were just discussing some Ryan Day, whether or not he's on the hot seat, and we discussed it in the break as well. Yeah, I don't think that he should be. Probably not. But yeah, he's feeling some pressure. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
6 losses in his career, half of those against Michigan. Like you said, they were referred to as a team up north, and have been since before he got there. So we'll see what happens. What else you got?
Last thing on that, I think you may hear, because we have unfortunately 6 or 7 months that we don't have football played. I think during this off season you may hear whispers about things going on and stuff happening, and I think next year, if he loses to Michigan again, I think then it's really going to heat up.
Yeah.
And if he can't get it done, then I would not be shocked if they're looking to make a coaching change there.
Well, I think that next year you're going to see a lot of changes in the Big Ten. Not only the teams coming in, you're going to see a lot of coaches going. Don't be surprised if this time Harbaugh does pull the trigger and go to.
I would not be shocked at all.
I'm seeing rumors out there that he's talking to Chicago, and if you think about it, that's probably more likely that he would take that job. That's where he played, So, and he's probably getting sick and tired of the NCAA and the Big Ten messing with him. And I can't say I blame him, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's going to be some discussions we're going to have January, February. Some good stuff we'll have then. So looking forward to that. But for now, we're going to get back to what's around the corner here. What you got?
Jumping ahead to Washington, like I said, I just want to look at a few of the top. We'll probably go top 5 or 6 teams, and then we'll jump into the conference championships. So
okay.
Washington, past 2 games they played, man, they had a fantastic game against Oregon State in the rain. On the road in Corvallis, man, that's a tough place to win. But that was a great gutty win for Washington. I think it's amazing that the difference in that game ended up being that bad snap on the punt that turned into a safety. That was the difference in that game.
Absolutely.
But throwing in the rain is difficult. It isn't easy. Michael Penix, I think his stats weren't great in that game. His completion percentage wasn't very high.
He was under 50%, 13 for 28.
But man, watching that game, I cannot tell you how many drops I saw. There was a couple of times where the ball was not where it needed to be, but more often than not, I believe it was a lot of drops in that game. But Rome Odunze, man, he's just special, dude. He stepped up when he needed to. And then that Washington State game, I'm equal parts torn because I've been rooting for Washington all year long. I'm equal parts torn in, that was just a rivalry game. Anything can happen in a rivalry game. And also, Washington did not play well. I'm torn between the two of those because I think both are true, unfortunately. When you need literally a walk-off field goal to beat Washington State, a team that had lost, I think, 6 in a row at one point. And they were just getting demolished by other teams in the Pac-12. I think it's not great that you need that, but again, it may have been sort of a Georgia situation too. Like, hey, let's just get this game done and go beat Oregon, because they had already clinched their spot in the Pac-12 championship at that point. Yeah. But again, they need to play probably about 5 times better than they did last week in order to even stand a shot against Oregon tomorrow night.
Wazoo started the season 4-0.
They sure did.
And then lost 7 last 8 games.
Yep. They lost 6 in a row and beat the dog son out of Colorado.
Beat Colorado, and then yeah. So, yep, you're right.
So, interested to see what they can do tomorrow night. Again, I think that's going to be another very competitive game. Might be where we crown our Heisman winner, depending on what Bo Nix does. Because I think he's probably the leader and probably should be right now. I think Jaden Daniels, what he's done is special. But I'm not penalizing him for his 3 losses. But I think Oregon, you have to weigh their impact on winning. And if they're putting up great stats, but it doesn't lead to wins, again, I know LSU has a horrible defense. I'm aware.
LSU doesn't have a defense.
But if you need to weigh their impact against winning, I think Bo Nix is probably in the front runner seat right now.
I just think that I think he's played the best consistently all year. You look at Michael Penix, who's played amazing, but there's been some, like you said, wasn't very. In the last few weeks, he's not played up to what he was playing early in the season. I think Bo Nix, and listen, guys, I'm not necessarily a huge Bo Nix fan. He's an Auburn guy, but Dad was an Auburn guy and Georgia Tech coach, all that. But I'm just going to say, man, I think the guy has been consistently great all year long. Numbers are showing it, and I know that there's a lot. Will and I, we talked about this the other day. He had a lot of his passes in that I think it's an Oregon State game that were little screen passes that run after catch was a lot of yards there, but he also threw that across his body pass down there about 50 yards down the field. It was insane.
And that's what I was going to get to. Every Heisman winner has that Heisman moment, and I've seen that been circulating for the past week and a half or so.
Yep.
That may have been Bo Nix's Heisman moment, because it was a impressive throw, but it wasn't exactly a great throw. The receiver had to stop and come back for it.
It was a foolish throw. As a coach, you say, don't ever do that.
But it turned into a touchdown, so we'll see how that turns out. And again, not trying to throw shade on Jaden Daniels. I'm not, but he did have a game where he went for 500 total yards and 8 touchdowns against Georgia State.
They said 8. They said 8 touchdowns.
My point is he did this against Georgia State.
Well,
and that counts towards his totals.
I know.
I don't want to just say, oh, look at his numbers, because it had some of it was against that and Army. So let's pump the brakes a little bit. So. All right, jumping ahead, let's look at Florida State. They are one of the most interesting teams in the country right now. We have not been on since the tragic injury to Jordan Travis. Man, I don't wish anybody to end their, especially college career, but any playing career like that. I think he's going to recover, probably make a push for the NFL. I think he's good enough to make it. But
I think there was broken bones. I think that there was not any ligament damage.
That's good.
Yeah, from what I understand.
That's
and it's
good.
in the ankle, so it's not like the knee. I hope so. I hope he does good. He can't come back. I don't think they're not going to give him another year,
he's
so
done.
he's not going to come
He's
back.
done.
Not like Cam Rising, who's getting his 7th year of eligibility coming up. Anyway.
Yeah, so prayers up for Jordan Travis, hoping he does recover and can make a push for the NFL. But that was a concerning game, because before he went out, they were trailing that 13-0 against North Alabama.
Yeah.
But then they finally got it together and scored 58 unanswered. That is a wild stat, 58 unanswered.
Yeah.
But again, that I have had concerns about Florida State all year. I think the best game they played all year was against LSU to start the season.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're right about that. They have weapons, man. They
do.
Tons of weapons on that team. I mean, you think Trey Benson. He is that guy's
a dog.
for real, man. He absolutely is. And then you got Keon Coleman, and Johnny Wilson is inconsistent to me. I mean, and the guy catches the football. My goodness, 6'7". He's very athletic. That huge. He's a great target. But he's got to do something about them hands,
Yep.
But they just got great weapons around them, And of course, I think probably the best weapon, like you said, Jordan Travis isn't going to be available. But we'll see. We'll see how Rudemeyer or however you say his name.
Rodmaker.
Yeah, that guy. We'll see how he does going into the championship game. Didn't really look that great against Florida, but we'll see going forward.
Yep. I may have said this before, but that game against Boston College, and kind of shouts out to Boston College, because they've had a much better season than I thought they would. They finished 6-6. They finished 6-6, and I thought it'd be terrible. But that game against Boston College, where they started trailing, and then, like I said, for probably about 25 minutes of game time, they just dominated them, and then they let them back in the game at the end there.
Yep. And we're up there watching on the back porch.
If they can put together a consistent game, I mean, I think Tate Rodmaker can just not make mistakes, and they can be fine against Louisville. Don't want to jump ahead too much into that, but it's obviously hurts to lose Jordan Travis, and if they can put together a consistent game like they did against Syracuse or Wake Forest or I guess that's about the only two they have. The last half of that Virginia Tech game, I think they can still be fine, because that defense is still all intact. So we'll see what they can do there.
Yeah, and they got some talent on defense side of the ball too.
They absolutely do. And then Oregon, again, the last game we did not talk about for them was Bo Nix's absolute annihilation of Arizona State. In case you did not watch that game, his final stat line: 24 of 29, 404 yards, 6 touchdowns. The man had more touchdown passes than incompletions. I'll let that sit in for a second. That is insane.
That is insane. It is absolutely insane.
404 yards on 29 attempts and 6 touchdowns.
That's crazy.
That is insanity. But again, Arizona State's not really a good team. But they did, again, it's a conference game on the road, so Oregon did really well there. And then, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I anticipated that Oregon State matchup to be a little bit closer than 31-7.
Yeah.
But Oregon just decided to come out, and they were going to beat them to death, and they did. I think that was a really impressive win by them, and also sort of a really sloppy performance by Oregon State. So I think Oregon is probably one of the teams that has the most momentum right now. They're feeling good, they're looking good, they're playing good on both sides of the football. So I think we're in for a treat tomorrow night in Las Vegas.
They're almost undefeated.
They're almost undefeated.
Really?
That's
that
true.
Washington game was a very close game, and they had the opportunity to win that game at the end, and they didn't. But that was that was on the road, and I think that, like you said, going into Vegas, I think they played a lot better. I think Washington has kind of regressed a little bit, as far as the way they look. Maybe their schedule's gotten a little bit tougher going down the stretch. But we'll get into our predictions. Excuse me, we'll get into our predictions in just a few minutes. But yeah, I think that Oregon's just looking great right now.
And the odds makers agree, because they are currently a 10-point favorite to win that football game.
I saw 9.5 earlier today, but 10 points. That's for conference championship game to an undefeated team that's ranked above you. That's pretty good. On neutral site.
All right, and the last specific team I wanted to talk about was Ohio State, because we'll get into Texas and Alabama in their respective conference championship games. Ohio State started off 11-0, looking good, playing good. Man, the last few weeks before they hit Michigan, they were outscoring their opponents. What's that? 75-6? No, I'm sorry. Yeah, 75-6. Oh my goodness. That's great, but it was Minnesota and Michigan State. Then they go into the Big House. I think two things. One, before the season, they were talking a lot about Georgia, and they were still very concerned about that game from last year. And I said this to you, so you can back me up. My response was, beat Michigan first, then we'll talk.
That's absolutely right.
And they could not, so
and did not.
Keep that perspective. Beat Michigan first, then you can come talk to me. A team that's won 29 in a row. Hush your mouth. And I think Ohio State, I think they were riding a little high and getting a little cocky, feeling themselves a little too much, especially after beating two dismal teams. And I think Michigan was the more focused team. I think they came out and obviously played better. So kind of talked about Ryan Day a little bit more too, but I think they're going to need to have a real reality check this offseason and say, hey, what do we need to do to make this work? I don't know if they need to pick up another quarterback, because Kyle McCord is not good, and I've been saying that all year. I believe I called him a towel boy a few weeks ago, and I stand by it. When he's not throwing to Marvin Harrison Jr., he is not a good quarterback.
Yep.
And
so that's a great one to throw to, because he's going. His catch rate is incredible.
But he's gone now.
Right.
Anyhow, Ohio State, I think they can still make a good bowl game. If some absolute 0.1% chaos happens in front of them, who knows? They might make the playoff. Who sees?
I want to tell you this: if they don't make the playoff, I wouldn't be surprised if Marvin Harrison don't play in the bowl game.
I would not be shocked either.
And so that's unfortunate, but that's the world we live in right now. I think you're right. I think they've got to get past that hump of Michigan, and it's really funny that we're saying this, because I didn't think that Harbaugh would ever get over the hump. He was 0 for his lifetime against Ohio State, and now all of a sudden, he's 6-0 from a hotel room, like we said before, but he's 2-0, and his assistant, who's coaching for him, is, come on, man, you got to give Harbaugh this win. So he's really 3-0 against Ohio State. But I think that they've got to figure things out, man. I think you're right. I think they did. I think Ryan Day did spend a lot of time saying, what if we didn't lose Marvin Harrison, we would beat Georgia. You didn't. You didn't, and you didn't have enough depth on your team. And if you're not the only team out there who loses a superstar, player, don't think that just because Georgia's won 2 national championships, my goodness, they were without the whole year last year without, Jalen Carter. He didn't play all year long until last 2 games this year. Yeah, A.D. Mitchell was out the whole year.
Lost Brock Bowers this year.
Lost Brock Bowers this year. Lab McConkey hasn't been here all year this year.
I don't know if people remember this, but going into that 2021 season, Stetson Bennett was not the starting quarterback.
No, he wasn't. And last year they didn't have George Pickens all year, who was. I mean, just look at it. Don't think that you're the only team, or you and Alabama are the only two teams out there that have receivers that get hurt. Yeah, you don't. So get over it. All right, well, we're going to take another break right quick, and then we're going to come back, and I guess we're going to preview Championship Week.
Let's do it.
Talk about some other things later on. You're listening to the XL Sports Network College Drive at 5, coming to you from the David Venable Studios in downtown Hawkinsville, brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. Be back in 2 minutes. You got to stay tuned. Welcome back to the XL Sports Network College Drive at 5. I'm here with Will and Ken on the boards. And we're talking about we're going to talk about Championship Week coming up. I would say Championship Saturday, Will, but we're going to start off for the game Championship Friday night.
Tomorrow night, yep.
So go ahead and let's talk about Oregon and Washington.
Playing in Las Vegas, the very last Pac-12 championship game. Next year, it's going to be the Pac-2 if they still do that. It's going to be interesting to see what the Pac. Well, we'll just call them the Pac. Interesting to see what the Pac does next year. I believe
it's going to be interesting because what happens if you got two teams, you got to play 8 games, you got to play 8 conference games. So what? So let's just play this out here.
They play each other.
They play each other 8 times, and then they got to figure out who's going to be in the championship game. So they end up playing each other 9 times.
Again, I think it's going to be interesting to see what the Pac does next year.
I think they're going to have to combine up with the Mountain West.
I've heard a schedule kicked around where they play 7 teams in the Mountain West, and they play Oregon State or Washington State play each other one time.
So again, changes in the college football playoff committee too.
It'll be interesting to see what happens there. Because for some reason Cal is now on the ACC. Breaks my brain, but whatever.
Well, they're right there, pretty close to the Atlantic Coast.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. The Atlantic Coast,
3,500 miles away.
The Atlantic Coast Conference is going to have a California-based team, and that makes perfect sense to me too.
So I might as well change the name of it.
Okay, so Oregon versus Washington. We got a rematch that I think we've been barreling towards since they played about 6 or 7 weeks ago.
All right.
I think we all saw this coming. Unless you're a USC fan, sorry by the way. They finished 7-5, which is something else I didn't get to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, real quick, throw that in there.
Will did say back in February or March. You can go back and listen to some of the archives of the show. And he said, it's very possible, and I think he even said this around the table at our house, very possible that USC starts off the season 6-0 and then 7-5. The man does his research, folks. The man does his research. There's no doubt about that.
Well, it was funny because on the show, you made me pick it too. When they were at, I believe at some point they got to, what was it, 6-1? I don't remember. But you said, what's more likely? Where were they going to finish? And I said, you know what? I said it. I'm going to stick with it. 7-5, and they finished 7-5. Which great job, Lincoln Riley. You did it, bud. I'm proud of you. Wasted one of the best quarterbacks you'll ever see in college football. That's Fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
Anyhow, back to Oregon and Washington, the teams at hand. I think these are the 2 best teams in the Pac-12, and it's not close. I think these are definitely 2 of the top 6 or 7 teams in the country for sure. They both are extremely well coached. They both have great rosters. The only thing that I think is really interesting about these 2 teams, as good as they are 2 of the most penalized teams in the country. If you just go look it up, teams or penalties per game, they are 2 of the most penalized teams in the country, which is very interesting to me.
That is interesting.
So again, it's going to be a clash of the Titans. I hope with a quarterback play, because Bo Nix has been playing probably some of the best football in the country recently, and Michael Penix has been struggling a little bit. But again, some of that is explainable. But I'm not giving him any excuses, no breaks. He was my Heisman pick, so I hold him to a high standard. He's got to play better to beat Oregon.
Let me throw something else.
What you got?
They are ranked number 1 and number 2 in passing yards per game.
They sling that ball.
Yeah,
they sure do.
352.8 yards per game for Oregon, 345.5 yards per game for Washington. Number 1 and number 2 passing. And as far as yards allowed, Oregon is 15th in the nation, and Washington is 96th. And I think that's where you're going to see the difference in this game. I think on the defensive side of the ball, I think that Oregon is going to be able to do something about that. Points per game, Oregon is number 2 in the nation, and Washington number 11. But go ahead, I'll let you go.
Well, I think the point you made about Oregon having a better defense, I think that was the argument people had for picking them to win earlier in the season.
Yeah.
But again, I will admit the two are on very. I don't want to say Washington's. I don't want to say Washington's slumping, but I guess their trajectories, if you had to chart it out, they have been different since that game.
Yeah.
Oregon has seemed to take that loss, take their lumps, and learn from it, getting better. Washington has seemed to narrowly escape several games. But the point being, they did it. They made it out of those games. I think we're to the point now. In college football and probably just football in general. Well, not the NFL. The NFL has been weird this year. I think we're to the point now in college football where excellent offenses are going to just put up points, even on great defenses. I think we saw it last year. Ohio State-Georgia game. I would say those are two really good defenses. Georgia's especially, but both teams scored 40 points. So I don't doubt Washington's still going to be able to score. And I think Oregon's definitely going to be able to hang with them because they're, number 2 in the country in scoring.
Yep.
I think we're in for another classic game. I hope so. Man, I hope it's not a blowout one way or the other. I definitely hope Washington doesn't lose. Again, I have a vested interest in them winning this year. But if I have to pick a winner, and I'm going to, Oregon is currently favored by 10 points. I haven't come off them all year, and I'm not going to start now. I'm a ride or die with my Huskies. I think they can obviously put up points, put up yards, and that defense is not good. I will not say that's a good defense. But when they need to make stops, they have. In that Oregon game, they needed stops, they got them. That USC game, they needed stops, they got them. Utah game, they needed stops, they got them. Oregon State, Wazoo, they needed stops, and they got them. In that offense too. Again, if you're telling me that I'm gonna have to just settle for Michael Penix Jr. to try and put up points and win the game, oh darn. I'm gonna do it. I'm obviously picking Washington to cover, and I think they're gonna win straight up. I think they're gonna go 13-0, beat Oregon twice, which is a really tough thing to do, beating a team twice in the same year. But I think Washington's gonna do it.
All right, so you're picking Washington
Sure
over
am.
under what?
Over under?
65.5.
Oh my gosh. Over. I
Over.
think they both get to 35. I think Washington needs to get to 45 to win, and I think they're going to do it.
All right. I'm going to pick Oregon in this game, and they got a 9.5 point spread. You're picking Washington straight up, so
Yes.
you obviously said they're going to beat the spread because they're the dog in this game. I'm going to say Oregon's going to win this game. Oregon's going to win this game, and they're going to win by more than 10 points.
Wow. Okay.
I'm picking Oregon because we're picking against the spread. I'm picking Oregon to win the game and cover the spread.
Okay.
And I'm picking I'm also going to pick the over in this game.
To be shocked, I will not be. Or, I'm sorry. To be clear, I will not be shocked if Oregon wins. But again, I'm rolling my Huskies. Again, when they need plays, they make plays. All right. I know it's not anybody interested. Probably not, or anybody listening probably isn't interested in Liberty, New Mexico State, but they play tomorrow night too. Liberty's favored by 11. That's on CBS Network, and that Pac-12 game is on ABC. I'm gonna pick Liberty to win that one. We don't have to go in depth, but I'm gonna roll with the Flame. I have a bunch of friends who went to Liberty, so I'm gonna roll with Liberty to beat that one. Beat New Mexico State in that one. Interesting though, New Mexico State's one of the weird teams. They always have a weird schedule. They played 13 games this year.
They really?
They sure did. Because they played week 0 and did not have a bye week.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Wow.
They always have a weird schedule. Like last year, I believe they played Hawaii twice.
2-3, yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
Yep.
All right, so you're picking.
I'm rolling with Liberty.
You're going Liberty.
And if their spread's 11, I think they'll cover.
Okay, so you're going to say. All right, so you're picking Liberty. Over and under is.
Right 57? Now it's 56.5, 57. I'll take the over. Why not?
You're taking the over. Okay.
Yeah, I think points are going to be scored in this game too.
All right, I got to agree with you on this one, man. I'm gonna pick Liberty. I think they're going to beat the spread. And over and under 57. Yeah, man, they score. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pick the over on that one too. I got to agree with you on that.
All right, we'll try and get a couple of these Group of 5 conferences out of the way just real quick. Toledo, Miami of Ohio. That one's going to be on ESPN on Saturday at noon. Toledo's currently favored by 8 points. I think Toledo has been the best Group of 5 team in the country this year.
Without a doubt.
I think Tulane has an argument, but they have won some real close games against some real bad teams. But I think Toledo's been good because their only loss is on the road at Illinois, a walk-off field goal in week 1.
Yeah.
That's their only loss.
Right.
I think Toledo is the best Group of 5
Almost
team in
beat
the
a
country.
Power 5 school, yeah.
Finally ranked in the AP poll. I'm not sure about college football playoff, but they should be. They deserve some respect. I'm taking Toledo to win and definitely cover that 8.
How about the over-under?
44 over for sure. Toledo might go over by themselves.
Yep.
Now, Miami of Ohio does have a good defense. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
And the last time they played, it was 21-17, so it probably won't be a blowout, but I do think Toledo's going to win.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm picking Toledo. I think they are. I paid attention to them last year because they were one of my teams I picked last year, and I would have picked them again this year, but my son-in-law picked them in the 3rd round, which
Each
just
do
blew me
it.
away.
Yep.
But anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna pick Toledo to win the game, and I'll pick the over on that.
All right, jumping ahead, let's do the Mountain West, who's going to be honorary pack teams next year. This one was interesting, and if you're I'm talking to all my San Jose State fans out there, however few of you are there. You guys got the short end of the stick there, because the last game of the season was San Jose State beat UNLV, and UNLV still made the conference championship. They both ended with the same conference record, but apparently the way it works is they just send it to a computer and say, hey, you pick the best teams. So if you're a San Jose State fan, I'm very sorry. You kind of got the short end of the stick there. Ken's telling me to take a break, so we'll take a break real quick, and then we'll make picks on this one right after the break.
Float along with us.
For over 50 years, the steakhouse restaurant has been a tradition in Hawkinsville, just like the great tradition of the Hawkinsville Red Devils and their 6 state championships in football. Lewis Fowler and the staff at the steakhouse restaurant invite you to stop by for the daily lunch buffet and the special Thursday night buffet, and don't forget the $8.99 daily specials. Go by and see Lewis Fowler and the staff at the steakhouse restaurant on the Highway 341 bypass on top of the hill in Hawkinsville. Go Red Devils!
For all your tax needs and IRS e-file in Middle Georgia, it's Lester's Income Tax Service at 99 Commerce Street, Hawkinsville. Call 478-783-1650. Best of luck, Red Devils.
The college experience is changing in our community, and Central Georgia Technical College is your college for what's next. Dual enrollment and the Dual Achievement Program offer new paths out of high school to earn diplomas, certificates, and degrees. Club football, on-campus health clinics, and loft-style housing are taking off. It's a work, school, and life balance like never before. Affordable education, transferable courses, and career satisfaction. Warner Robins, Macon, Milledgeville, and more. Simply put, CTTC is your college for our community. Apply today. Visit www.centralgatech.edu.
Walk the mean streets of Atlanta in a police uniform. That gives me an important perspective most lawyers can't give you. If you find yourself in a tough situation leading to an arrest, remember, your best bet for a good defense is to remain completely respectful but quiet. I can't stress that enough. And call me as soon as you possibly can. I'm David Venable. Call me.
The big city lawyer with small town charm. David Venable, attorney at law. Broad Street, Hawkinsville. Call 478-783-2825.
Let's play Who Wants to Volunteer in Your Community with Ella in Santa Monica, California.
Hey, wait, I don't want to volunteer.
Volunteering can really be fun. In fact, we've asked your entire algebra class here to tell you more.
But we were thinking that you should start tutoring people because you're all, like, smart and stuff. I should?
You free tonight?
Sure.
To find out ways you can volunteer in your community, log on to teensvolunteer.org. Do what you like to do. Volunteer. A public service message brought to you by the USA Freedom Corps, the U.S. Department of Justice, the Crime Prevention Coalition of America, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the XL Sports Network College Drive at 5. Are we on? No, we're not. Okay, here we go.
There we
Welcome
are.
back to the XL Sports Network College Drive at 5, brought to you by Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. And we are coming to you live from the David Venable Studios in Hawkinsville. We're talking about championship Saturday now. We got past the championship Friday night game, and we're talking about these Saturday games, breaking our picks. We're on the Boise State versus UNLV. Boise State is the favorite, 2.5-point favorite, and over and under 59. Will, you were talking about that before the break. Go ahead and finish your thought.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, we'll make it quick on this one too. I think UNLV has done a great job this year. Barry Odom, man, he's done a great job. His first year there at UNLV.
Yeah, it is.
Done a great job there. Neither one of these teams has. I'm sorry. Outside of they've both played Michigan and Washington. Outside of those games, they have not lost another game by more than one score. So these teams don't lose big time. I think we're in for a close game here too. I'm gonna pick my Broncos. I think they're on a hot streak. I think they're riding high. I think they're feeling good. I'm gonna pick the Broncos to 2.5. Yeah, sure, they'll cover 2.5, but I'm taking the under on the 58 or 59, whatever it is.
And I'm with you on Barry Odom. I think Barry Odom when he was at Missouri I thought he did a great job there. He took over a program.
I think so too.
Yeah, and bad, not doing too good, and I thought he made him very relevant. I think he set the stage for what Eli Drinkwitz has right now. Thought he was a great. I thought he was a good defensive coordinator at Arkansas for what he had. He didn't have any talent there, and he actually got. I don't like his defense, but they actually didn't play too bad. But he's done a great job at UNLV. I'm picking UNLV to win this game, and I'm also going with the under.
All right, let's go ahead to the Dr. Pepper Big 12 Championship game. That's going to be noon on Saturday, ABC. Texas, Oklahoma State. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how Oklahoma State made it to this point.
I don't know either, man.
I think it's just Mike Gundy doing Mike Gundy things, identifying strengths, and said, "Hey, we'll just ride the back of Ollie Gordon." I think they should have lost way more games than they did. I don't think they had any business being in some of these games. They ended up winning. The spread's 15.5 right now. I think Texas is playing some pretty good football, especially after just demolishing Texas Tech and winning on the road at Ames. That's a tough place to play and a tough team to beat. I know they went 7-5, but Iowa State is always a tough team. Matt Campbell always does a good job with that team, having them ready. But I think especially in this venue, I think Texas is going to come out. I think they're going to blow them out. The 15.5, I think they'll cover it. Nah, you know what? Bold pick. They cover by halftime. And I'm taking the over, and Texas may get that over by themselves.
When I see that they got beat by UCF, the way they got beat by UCF, talking about Oklahoma State, I was going, what in the world is going on here? Thought they were playing good. They should have been a 10-win season this year. You said you don't think they should have been in some of those games. Well, they were. I mean, they came out and won Bedlam, and which doesn't really happen a whole lot. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take Texas as well, and I'm picking the over in that game. I just don't see. I think that Texas has just got a lot more talent on that team than Oklahoma State does.
All right, hitting the Sun Belt really quickly. I'm actually protesting this game because they allowed James Madison to play in a bowl game, but not their own conference championship.
Oh man, you're right.
I'm going to be at this game. It's going to be, where is it played? It's in Troy, Alabama. There you go, because Higher Seat hosts. It's ESPN 4:00 on Saturday. I'm going to be outside the stadium picketing, throwing eggs at all the App State players.
I think you're right. You got a point there. They're going to let them play in the bowl game. Why not let them play in the conference championship game? They've obviously earned it.
Anyhow, I think Troy's going to win. I think they are a pretty good defensive team. They've played really well all year. They lost to James Madison, which, again, that's just infuriating because they should be the one playing this game, but whatever.
Right.
They've lost to James Madison and Kansas State. They beat everybody else, so they're a really good team. 5.5, I think they'll cover that because App State, they've been really inconsistent, we'll say. They did beat James Madison, but I don't give that too much credit. I think Troy's going to win. They're going to cover that 52.5. I think that's about right, but I'll take the under. I'll take the under on that one.
That's the under on that?
Yep.
Okay. I'm showing 5 as a spread, but
we'll go with 5. That's fine. Yep.
I think Troy's going to win and cover that. And you pick the under. I'm picking the over on that.
All right. Okay. A game that I'm afraid is going to be dreadfully boring. Michigan or Iowa. That's 8:00 on Fox on Saturday. There's not really much to talk about here. Iowa can't score. Michigan's riding high. I'm going to roll with the Wolverines to win this game. I think they're going to lean on Blake Corum a whole lot. And as long as J.J. McCarthy doesn't make dreadful mistakes, I think they'll win and probably win big. And that being said, I do think they'll cover. And that 35.5, that's an Iowa special for the over-under. So I'm going to take the over on that one. And Michigan might get a 35 by themselves. So I'm taking Michigan to win to cover, and I'm picking the over.
All right. We are picking based on the spread. And I'm going to, in this one here, I'm going to pick the under.
You're taking the under. Okay.
I don't think 34
Less than 35.
I don't think 34.5 is what I'm showing. So I'm going under. I'm picking Iowa to win this game.
Wow! Whoa!
Hold on, let me say. I'm picking Iowa to at least beat the spread.
Whoa!
At least going to beat the spread. And I'm telling you guys, I don't know why. I just, you know what? It's one of those stupid hunches. I saw Michigan in person last week. It was a great game. They played a great atmosphere, great venue. I just wasn't impressed, man. I just wasn't impressed. And I think that Iowa defense is going to step up. And for some reason, I'm picking Iowa to win the game, and they'll certainly cover the spread. Or they'll certainly beat the spread. So whether or not they win the game, I'm still picking them to beat the spread.
We're going to jump to the American really quick.
That is a hot take, by the way.
Very hot take, flaming hot. We're going to jump to the American real quick. SMU's taking on Tulane, 4 o'clock on Saturday. I think Tulane's been playing with fire for far too long. And it's not – they are hosting. However, like I said, playing with fire far too long. They don't play exceptionally well at home. I'm taking SMU to win the game. I think Rhett Lashley's done a fantastic job with this team. I think they have go look at the numbers. They have a fantastic offense, fantastic defense. I think SMU wins this game. So they're obviously going to cover the 3.5. And the 47 or whatever it is, I'm taking the over on that game.
All right, I'm picking Tulane to win this game. And I think because last year they went to a New Year's Day 6 bowl and beat USC. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they had almost their entire roster back.
A good bit of it, yep.
So I'm going to pick Tulane. They're 11-1 this year. I think they win, and they obviously will cover the spread. I think 3.5 is what I'm showing, and I will pick the over. I think they'll 47. I think that's a good pick on the over.
All right, we're going to save the best for last. So we're going to jump into FSU and Louisville. I think this is going to be probably an overlooked game, especially because it comes on 8 o'clock, and the competitive, or I guess the ones that are expected to be way more competitive, have already happened. So FSU is currently only a 2-point favorite. They're playing in Charlotte, so neither one of them really has a home field or home state advantage here. I hate to do it because I love Chaz with all my heart, but I'm gonna roll with Louisville to win this game. I think they're gonna come back focused after winning that Florida game or losing to that Kentucky team. And I think, again, like I said with Tulane, I think Florida State's been playing with fire for too long. And losing Jordan Travis, man, that just really hurts. And they really struggled against Florida. I know it's a rivalry game, but Louisville's defense has the potential to play way better than Florida's defense does. So I'm taking Louisville to win the game, over under a 47.5. I'm actually expecting this to be a defensive game, so I'm going to take the under there.
All right, I'm with you. Sorry, Chaz, love you, buddy, but I'm not picking with my heart, picking with what I really think is going to happen, and I think Louisville's they're going to pose problems for that FSU offense over on the defensive side of the ball. I think they're going to win the game, and I think the over. I'm picking the over on this game.
Now, the very first playoff game of the year.
That's right.
Georgia's playing Alabama in the bins. 4 o'clock on CBS. The CBS or the SEC on CBS farewell, and man, I hope it's a good one. Again, games at 4 o'clock. Both these teams went undefeated in conference play, have played some really good football and have played some underwhelming football at times. Obviously, Alabama's only losses to Texas. Not trying to be a Georgia homer here, but I will be, and that's fine. I think Georgia's a better team. I think they're the much better team, and if I'm wrong, I'll stand on it. I don't care. I'm doubling down. I'm taking Georgia by 17. I'll give you a score prediction. I'm going 38-21. If Alabama doesn't get to 24, 25 points, they don't have a chance to win, and I don't think they're going to. So it's 5.5. Obviously, Georgia's covering. The over-under is 40 or 54, 55-ish right in there. I'm taking the over on that one.
I am right there with the big dog. Georgia in the over. I think that offensively they just got too much firepower. I think that we'll hold Jalen Milroe to. He's probably going to get some. He's going to get his runs. I think we're not going to shut him down totally, but I think we're going to restrict him down. So yeah, I'm picking Georgia in the over, and I've got these written down. So we're gonna see how well we do with this. Listen, guys. We really appreciate you guys listening to us. YouTube, go to YouTube and listen to the XL Sports Network. Hit the subscribe, hit the like button, leave us a comment. We are at the end of the regular season and into the postseason. We will be back again next week to discuss this and discuss the bowls coming up.
And then Final Four will be up by then, too.
Yeah, it will be Sunday. So thank you guys for listening to us. You're listening to the XL Sports Network College Drive at 5, brought to you by the Steakhouse in Hawkinsville and live from the David Venable Studios in downtown Hawkinsville. Thank you guys. You guys have a great weekend, and go Dogs.